So much like a lot of other people are, I am super hyped for Sonic 3. Although these figures were kind of hard to get. I actually did multiple toy hunts on my first one. I did find the plushie, so I picked him up. And then as for the little one, I actually found him sort of at Walmart one day. But someone stole him, so I didn't get him because he was stolen. And then I went on a different day and actually found him, actually in the package, finally. And then so I picked up the little Shadow. And then when it came to the figures, these two guys right here I picked up pretty recently because they are really hard to find. So a story about that one actually is that I asked a Walmart worker when they were getting them in, and she told me they were getting them in Friday. And so I was like, okay. And I was fully waiting to, get both of these guys. And then come to find out, I go shopping, and I turn down the aisle, and I see the Sonic figure. Didn't see Shadow yet, but I saw Sonic. There were 4 of him, a total of 4 of them, and I was actually, freaking out because I saw the Sonic there just on the shelves, and I was kind of freaking out because she told me Friday, but there was obviously 4 of them, and so she told me Friday, and I was freaking out because, wow, they got a truck in early. I didn't know that. So I guess someone already picked out Shadow, because Shadow is the one selling out a lot. And I didn't see him at all, but then I look up, and there he is staring right at me. So I did pick up both of these guys, because I wanted both, at least Shadow and Sonic. Didn't find Tails, so I couldn't pick up Tails, which was really weird, because Shadow's usually the one selling out, not Tails. But yeah, so apparently it looks like Tails is going to be a hard one for me to find. But I did get both of these guys, and, well, I did want to kind of talk about all of them, because I really do like them all. The little one, too, as well. Both figures and the plushie, so we will do each of them individually in all one video. So let's take a look at the plushie first, since it's the one thing out of all the figures that I did get and stuff that doesn't really require too much to go over. But I really do actually want to talk about the quality of this plushie, because it's really good, and I love all the printed parts here, the embroidery, or sewing, or whatever you want to call it. The material is very nice on this thing, and he's got some very good proportions. He has this very fuzzy little chest fur there, but he has really good proportions, all things considered. For a plushie like this, the proportions are pretty good. Not a huge fan of his hands. They're okay. A lot of the printed fabric is pretty good. And this is a look at the tag here. A lot of it is just reuse from Sonic 2. At least some of the renders are. But you got the tag right there. Got another tag there. Very nice embroidery on the bottom of the legs there too as well. And then obviously on the back here, he has his quills and whatnot, and they have the extra quill there for the movie design, just like the head area does too as well. And I love the embroidery around all the red bits here and there and everywhere on the back of his head. This is a really nicely made plushie, and I really do like the eyes too as well. It has a very, very nice color. It's very soft too as well. And these ears are they look more like bear ears, but I mean they're pretty passable. He has very nicely embroidered eyes. Yeah, it's just a really, really, really nice plushie, and they did a good job. Now I'll just do a quick little comparison. Here's my older plushie. You see the shoes are made a little bit different. It's all pretty much embroidered and has this kind of like plasticky print to it, or like a rubber print or something. Same thing with the kind of arm kind of things, but this thing has seen better days. It's very, very old. It's got a lot of stitching on it. This is the old original Jazzwares one, and I've still had it for all this time. I still really do like this little plushie. I think the hands are honestly a little bit better on this older plushie here than the new one. But yeah, I mean, this thing has seen some better days. Still keeping it, of course, because I really do like this plushie still. But just comparing it to what we have now, I like them both. I think they both have their charm to it. This guy's a little too little old, but I still really do like both of them. And yeah, they're really good plushies, and I think that they did a really good job at making it really good. But let's take a look at what you guys really came here for. So, starting out with, we'll just take a look at Baby Shadow here really quick, since he is pretty much the more simple one, and then we'll take a look at the two 5-inch figures. But there's some pretty nice packaging on this thing, and he will come like this when you see him in the store, and I really do like this packaging, although the only problem is that these will be easy to steal, as, well, when I first saw at least the packaging for Shadow, someone actually stole them out of the package. And one weird thing you'll know is that there's actually Knuckles in this wave here, while the 5-inch figures don't have a Knuckles, at least not yet. I just find it a little bit weird, so you have Knuckles here, but there's no Tails. But you got a very nice look at the packaging here, with the Sonic 3 branding and everything. And first time showing you guys a proper kind of unboxing, I guess. Let's just rip them out, because it's that easy. And you can actually just rip them out of the things, too, as well. So here he is, and he looks really good. So we're just going to take a look at the details here first with this guy. And this guy just looks really, really, really cool. Now, this specific Shadow will definitely fit in a lot better with 6-inch figures, as to why I got this one, too, as well. But just taking a look at the shoes here, there is some paint bleeding here and there that you will find on it. It's not going to be perfect. It is just a small little, Shadow, but what's there is actually, not, too terribly bad. Of course, you got the, product number code or something on the back of his foot. But other than that, the paintwork is pretty decently done for a little thing like this. And this guy was only like $4? Something like that. And he is sculpted pretty beautifully. So, I mean, if you didn't find the 5-inch figure, no worries. Because, I mean, I feel like this figure would be good enough and, represents the movie fairly well, actually. Which is kind of surprising, because usually on a small figure like this, you can't really get too much sculpt on it. But, he is just a smaller figure, so I can be lenient on a lot of different things. But to be honest, he actually does look really good. And he's going to look really good side up next to some of my other, figures and such. But the paintwork on the face just looks really good. They did a pretty well job on actually, capturing the likeness from the actual, movie. And I can say that now since the trailer is released. But he has very nice sculpt work for the bottom of the shoes, too, as well. But if you think this is good, just wait till we actually take a look at the 5-inch figures. So here is the best part of the Sonic 3 merch. So let's just take a look at the packaging real quick. So both their packaging are pretty much going to be similar and, pretty much the same. I do like the shape of the packaging. It's got this, almost kind of I wouldn't say spin dash. It's more like I don't know, those, launch pads in, Sonic, those, boost pads. But obviously, the renders here on the side are reused from Sonic 2, but they just added the Sonic 3 kind of branding and stuff to it, and plus with the Shadow's face up there at the top. I really do like the look at these packages and boxes, because they're pretty decently simple, but they're pretty good. And they do work. They're effectively working. But as you can see here at the bottom, it shows all the other figures in the series too as well. And as you can tell, there's Tails right there. There is no Knuckles. Knuckles gets a 2-inch, but Tails gets a 5-inch. I'm assuming they'll do a Knuckles down the line and a Tails swapped too as well. But as you can see here, he has a bio, and it says Sonic is on a roll, saved the world twice. Right there on the back. It's pretty nice. And then Shadow's box here shows the figure on the back. Shadow is a fierce and mysterious foe who is determined to accomplish his goals and won't let anything stand in his way. So, yeah, I mean, they both get bios and everything, and the packaging looks, pretty nice. So, here both they are out of the box. And we are quickly going to take a look at Sonic first. So Sonic here, he's, pretty much the exact same as he looked in, the past two movies. Not much change. He is painted up pretty well, and you can even see his nostrils on his nose, which is some pretty crazy, insane detailing. This thing is detailed like everywhere. There's not a single part that's without sculpt at all. Very nice paintwork for his kind of torso there. He doesn't have too much paint on him, but the paint that he does have on him is, pretty good. I do love the sculpt of the hands and everything. Everything looks really good and proportional. And I really do thoroughly enjoy the Sonic movie design. So much better than what we could have had. So, obviously I can't complain. He does have these clear bits on his quills that almost kind of, insinuate, his power and all that, which is pretty cool. I know a lot of people were kind of iffy about his, he has almost like Flash-like abilities, but I really do like this matte finish, too, for his tan paint. He does have a really cool look to him. And these shoes are sculpted very, very nicely. Painted up pretty decently well. There's some areas where you can tell it's a little bit messy. Especially towards around the back here. There's some parts missing and whatnot. And the code on the bottom of his foot looks like he stepped in some dog shit. But he's a pretty cool looking little guy. And there is some paint mishaps here on mine. I probably should have looked a little closer in the store. But I was just too excited. I just grabbed them and I left. But I really do love the sculpt work for the shoes and everything. And he has this really cool thing with the eyes where it has, follow me eyes. Where if you, turn, the eyes kind of, follow you, which is pretty cool. So you can, be really expressive with them. And just kind of, move him, and it just looks like he's looking at you. It's just kind of like an optical illusion thing that just looks really nice. And I do love how it's, behind these, glass covers for the eyes. So Sonic's, a pretty great-looking figure. So let's take a look at Shadow next, because, man, oh man, when these figures got, leaked out in a way, I just wanted Shadow so bad. And I knew immediately when there was going to be Shadow in the third movie, and when the toys came out, that I wanted to get him so bad. He has the red detailing, too, on the back of his arms, which usually they should be, right on the sides, but they're more so on the back of the arms and legs. Of course, he does have that third spike, too, as well, that the Sonic movie design has. His code is actually in the back of his shoes, which I'm not too big on, but, I could just, wipe it off. It's not a big deal. But, he just looks so good. These shoes look insane. I know they changed up the design for Shadow from the post-credit scene to the actual, on-screen appearance, but I really love the design of these shoes. They really definitely look more machine-made and all that, and more, human-made type of, combat-type rocket shoes. And these things just look so good. They're sculpted beautifully, painted up super nicely. And on the back here, it almost looks like there's an extra piece to his shoe that just kind of reminds me of the upgrades that you can get from Sonic Adventure 2. Which is just pretty cool. I mean, they designed these shoes and made these shoes look just so perfect. Even the rockets are, detailed just so beautifully. You can even see, the actual, rocket, engines and stuff like that. These things look just so sick. I mean, look at that small attention to detail. It's crazy. This figure is, detailed, insanely good. You can see the seam lines, too, in his gloves. I am going to glaze this figure a lot just because, Shadow's my favorite character, one of my favorite characters ever, and he just looks so good. The sculpt work on him is, amazing, much like Sonic. He does have his, kind of tuft of fur right there, sculpted in pretty well. And everything on this guy is just perfect, but he has one problem that I'm just not a big fan of, which is his eyes. I mean, they're kind of cut a little bit, but I'll talk about that in a second. But other than that, everything else about this guy is just so good. The sculpt work for his back quills look insanely good. I love the matte, paint that they use for these guys because it just feels nice in my hands. Like, it just feels nice to the touch. He has that same matte paintwork for his mouth and everything too as well. He has a little bit of a paint error on the nose, but I'm sure I could probably try and fix that. And I'm not sure if that's accurate or not either. It might be. But he does also have the follow me eyes too. But the problem with it is, unlike Sonic, his eyes are not full eyes. You can see Sonic right here. His eyes are full eyes, either painted or printed under there, whatever they did. But Shadow's, look at him head on, it's perfectly fine. But then when you start to turn him, the illusion gets lost because his eyes are just cut for some reason. I don't know why they did that. I'm hoping maybe there's a way I can maybe try and fix that somehow by opening the head up. I have no idea. But I really wish they didn't do that because it kind of loses the immersion a bit with the follow me eye thing. And I don't know. I just wish that they didn't do that. But other than that, this guy is just perfect in every way. So with all three details of these figures out of the way, let's take a look at their articulation. So we'll start out with Baby Shadow first, since he's the more simpler one. His head doesn't do anything besides just kind of swivel around on a peg. His arms do go a full 360 and has a single hinge. Same thing with the legs. They do spin all the way around. They go forward about that far, and they go back about that far. So that's pretty much it for, Baby Shadow. But, I mean, he's small. So as far as the 5-inch figures go, both Sonic and Shadow share the same articulation. You can look down about that far, up not so much. You can have some side to side. Sonic, you can't really spin the head full 360 because his quills get in the way and they hit his shoulders. But as far as his arms go, he does have a butterfly joint, excuse me. It goes forward about that far, back about that far. His arm can go all the way up, and his arm can spin a full 360, like so. He does have a bicep swivel, does have a single hinge at the elbow that also has a swivel. His hands can spin all the way around, and they do have a hinge, but it is very tight on mine. These figures have some very tight hinges, which is kind of scary, but I'll see if I can try to loosen them up. So it does hinge. He does have finger articulation right there. And then as far as, if I can just straighten his arm out real quick, as far as his torso, he does have a waist rotation, but you can kind of make it an ab crunch, sort of. Not so much. It's more just for rotating the waist. As for the legs, they kick forward about that far, back about that far, and he can do a full-on split, like so. And then he does have a thigh swivel, single joint at the knee, which also can be a swivel too as well. His foot can go up about that far, and it does have some tilt to it as well, back about that far. And as I mentioned, it does have a slight pivot tilt to it too as well. So he's pretty decently articulated. Now let's look at Shadow, and there he goes. So here is Shadow, and Shadow will be slightly more articulated. He has a little bit more range than Sonic does, which is fine by me. I want Shadow to be a little bit more articulated. But as far as the head, he can look up pretty much about that far, down pretty significantly, so he can give you the Kubrick stare. Does have some tilt to his head as well. Shadow can go a full 360 around. And as for the arms, same like Sonic's, got the butterfly joint. Arm can go up all the way, like so. And then his arm can fully rotate a full 360 all the way around. And he does have a bicep swivel, single joint at the elbow, that's also a swivel. And his wrists do hinge in and out and swivel around. He does have the finger articulation too as well. Shadow does have the waist swivel too as well on him. And then a little bit of crunch, actually. And as for Shadow, my Shadow's legs are very stiff, so I'm not really going to mess with them. But he does have the same articulation as Sonic. I'd have to assume they're reused molds, but he does have the thigh swivel, single jointed knee, and of course the foot can go down pretty significantly, up pretty decent amount, and he does have a tilt to his foot. So without further ado, let's get into a pose test. Guys enjoyed that little pose test. Now we're going to get into the scale of these guys. So I'm just going to bring in Sonic here, and then we're going to bring in also Shadow 2 as well. I'm not going to do them like separately since I'm doing them all in this one video. Then we'll just bring in, Baby Shadow here. So for the first couple of, kind of scaling, I'm just going to bring in some figures like, Spider-Man. So here's a SH Figure Arts figure, just to kind of see how he looks next to a Figure Arts Spider-Man figure. And you can see how they scale next to him. Pretty off scale, I'd say. The Baby Shadow, though, maybe a little on the small side. But I think maybe it might work. I'm not sure. I feel like maybe it should be a little bit bigger. But here they are next to Marvel Legends, Toby. And then, of course, bringing in my Figure Arts Goku, since both Dragon Ball and Sonic seem to share a lot of similarities. And, well, Sonic has always been kind of, compared with Goku, and Goku like Sonic and all that. And with their, type of character and everything. And especially since they can both go into a super mode. So there they are next to Goku. And then, of course, Vegeta. So here's my Figure Arts Vegeta, which a video on him is coming out real soon. Shadow is always compared and similar to Vegeta, which, makes a lot of sense with a lot of the stuff with Dragon Ball and Sonic. But then also, now we're getting into the Sonic comparisons. So here is Lego Sonic. Right there. And then I also do have Lego Shadow, which I do plan to do some Lego reviews. I'm just not exactly sure how to do them. But there they are, the kind of Lego versions. And here's my smallest Shadow that I own, which was like a little keychain thing. And here's like my second smallest Shadow that I own, which is a kind of like a blind ball thing. I opened them up on this channel if you guys checked out the video. For some reason, that video got like 4K views or something. I don't know, that was pretty crazy, but I did open them up on my channel. Here is my custom movie Shadow, using a old, the Sonic 2 base figure. This thing is not as good now that I take a look at it. There's a lot of blue showing. One of my earlier customs from, when I was using a lot of old painting methods. But here is the, untouched Sonic 2 Sonic figure. And as you can see, they definitely went up in scale with the new movie figures. And that's not a bad thing because, honestly, it just makes them look better. Here is their kind of newest scale with the Sonic Prime Shadow, which I meant to do a video on Sonic Prime Shadow, but I just never got around to doing it. I kind of got the figure, and I was like, I love this figure, but I'm not going to do a video on him for some reason. I might do one sometime. But here he is. Here they are, next to my Jazzwares Superposer Shadow. And, yeah, you can see they're almost to the height of Superposer Shadow, which is pretty insane. Superposer Shadow is like my favorite Shadow figure I own. Well, one out of the two figures of Shadow that I own that I like. Now, I don't have my regular classic Sonic figure anymore, so here's my Sonic.exe figure, just to show you the scale between the video game figures and the movie figures. Vastly different, and here is the video game Shadow. You can see they have very, very vastly different scaling. I think that the baby Shadow scale is definitely a lot better compared to with these 5-inch figures. But that's not to say that they're bad or anything. But anyway, let's get on to the final thoughts. Now, as for the plush, it's a really good plush figure. Well, it's not really a figure, but it's a really good plushie. Like, this thing, it's a plushie. There's going to be inconsistencies, and it's going to not exactly look the most like the character it's trying to represent. But this one, honestly, looks really good and represents the character pretty well. And I love it. It's a really nice looking plushie. As for Baby Shadow, you really can't go wrong. I mean, it's sculpted really nice, painted up really nice, and he's only $4. So if you didn't want to go too crazy on, the Sonic 3 line, you can just get the little ones. And they also scale the best with 6-inch figures, and you can have him hold an emerald. But he's honestly pretty good. I mean, he's painted up just as nice and detailed just as nice as the 5-inch figure. Maybe not that much articulation, but for $4, you really cannot go wrong. Now, talking about the 5-inch figures. Starting with Sonic. Sonic is, he's really good. I mean, you can't go wrong with him. It's Sonic. You really can't fuck up Sonic. But they almost did with that, original design. But now we give this. And this figure, it's really good. It's a good representation of the, Sonic from the movie. It's his articulation being updated from the second movie figures is really nice. I love how they added the kind of follow me eyes, and I really like this figure. It's, it's Sonic. You really can't go wrong with Sonic. So I think it's safe to say that Shadow is pretty much going to be the bread and butter of the Sonic 3 toy line, mainly because he's the main, kind of antagonist for the movie, or at least so we think. But his figure is so unbelievably beyond perfect. Like, it's just crazy. I love this figure. This, just because I have a little bit of bias towards Shadow in general, but this figure is just absolutely perfectly just amazing. Like, just the sculpt of his shoes, the paintwork on his shoes, the sculpt of him in general, the paintwork on him in general. The only problem is his eyes. And I just really wish that they just didn't cut the eyes. Because then, otherwise, it would be just, perfect. But, these 5-inch figures are, like I said, the bread and butter of this, this line. And there's, no reason why they're selling out everywhere, and it's hard to get them, is because they're good. And, my Shadow, he does have tight joints, so am going to have to fix that with some type of method just to get those legs moving a little bit better. But, I mean, these figures are just so fun to pose around with, and they're inexpensive, too. They were, close to, $15 each. That's it. That's cheaper than a Marvel Legends figure, and even these just sometimes look a little better than some Marvel Legends figures, in my opinion. But, I mean, these things are just perfect in every possible way. And I want to do a review of them so bad, but that is it for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one when I get more stuff.